What should we do today then? I've only got once again a couple of hours to spend on it. I think maybe I should definitely try to get some brakes on it, and if I get enough time, maybe a rear mech and a chain. Let's see. The brakes I'm thinking of using, I've got on my Singular. They're mechanical disc brakes. I think they're in the shed somewhere. Oh, pretty dark in here. Let's have a look. Oh, there's the bike. I suppose I'll have to lift that down, get the brakes off. I actually got a pretty tasty rear mech on it. I should maybe try and use that as well, I think. Still, let's see how we get on. These brakes are mountain bike mechanical brakes, and to be honest, they never really worked that well with the road bike levers on this. Although they did work very well on this bike with the mountain bike XTR, the XT brake levers that I've got on the Tandem now. So I know that setup works quite well together. So I figured I'll use these brake calipers on the Tandem. Doesn't feel great taking bikes apart, especially ones that I like so much, even if I don't get much time to ride this one. But seeing as how this will no longer have a rear mech on it, there is a possibility I might rebuild it as a single speed again, what it's supposed to be from the start. I have to contact the guy that I sold the wheels to, see if I can buy them back. Anyway, decent looking mech, a bit dirty, hasn't done a lot of work though, that's for sure. Maybe a couple of 1,000 kilometers, but I think that'll do the trick. Hopefully that'll work alright. It's a 9-speed Derailleur. I think 7, 8 and 9-speed are all compatible. There's only one way to find out. So let's get this on the Tandem. After a bit of huffing and puffing, Tandem's back up in the bike stand. I did realise that on the Singular I had this little puppy. I don't know if you can see this. Look at this. Little hip flask. My brother made for me. I have a bicycle spoke, the holder. How cool is that? And if we listen carefully, there's still whiskey in it. Probably from the last single speed race I did. Anyway, what better place to have that than on this bike? Let's do that first before we do the important stuff. And as always, when you're fitting cable ties, there's a top tip. Let's see if we can get that on there. Cut them off flush. Use some flush cutters, not regular side cutters. You want cutters that are absolutely smooth on the back, so you get the tie wraps nice and smooth. No sharp edges to catch your fingers on. Here's something that's worth thinking about. When you put the derailleur on, before you get the chain on it, you can see how well it lines up on your maximum and minimum end stops. That's like not far off, but it's not quite right, and it's actually touching here on here. So we're going to adjust the B screw to get that back a little bit. That's the screw down here, and then we'll adjust the end stops to get it lined up. So I did what I could with the B tension screw. The whole thing looks quite a long way from the cassette. Maybe this is designed for a more modern cassette, which are generally bigger, definitely out here. So, but let's get the end stop done anyway. So there, that should stop any massive disasters the first time we get it all hooked up. So that's done. Let's see what the rear brake caliper looks like on here. Moment of truth. It's international standard here, and it's an international standard caliper and 160mm rotor. Let's see if this wants to play nice. See how close we maybe got to getting it right. That's the caliper centered. We've got 11mm down to the mounting surface, and the plate was 4. 7mm spacer. I think that is what I used to spec for these. So let's have a look for some 7mm spacers in the hammerhead box. Let's have a look here. The spacers go in here. So we have brakes. Bearing in mind the disc rotor is 20 years old and not super straight, I think we can definitely live with that. That's one done. Let's get on to the front brake. Here's your front brake. Let's see where this ends up. I'll just start the bolts off in their threads. This is a Formula Standard fork with a Formula Standard to International Standard plus 20, I think it is, adapter that I used to make. So the actual, if it was International Standard, the caliper mounts further down, and it's an uglier looking bracket, to be honest, but then you have to use 160mm rotors. I've got 180, so it's a nicer installation here. But as you can see in here, we need a little spacer again, because this bracket mounts on the outside and it should be on the inside. So let's have a look here. We're going to try and get some spacers in there, so I'll measure that distance and then see how many millimeters of spacers we need. Well, that was an unexpected twist. It actually turned out that the caliper was too far out on the radius. So this adapter does bring it to International Standard plus 20 for use with formula brakes, because all my other bikes had formula brakes on them. But I did have this caliper directly mounted on an International Standard with 180 rotors. So I'm thinking that the actual adapter on the caliper here that I got from my very good friend Nick when we built the single speed, this thing here, and maybe I need another one of these which is shallower somehow. I'll have to research that and try and figure it out. Actually, I can see here now on the it does say here F18, front 180, rear 160 is this type of adapter. So it would be okay with a 180 if I have a International Standard mount rather than the oversized ones that I made to go on the Formula mount standard. So this one here has got the right hole geometry, but it's a prototype I had made in carbon fiber and never actually tested it. I'm not sure I'm willing to test it on the Tandem. Maybe I am. I've got one on the back of the single speed which has lasted 20 years without any problems, so I'm sure it should be alright. I'm just going to need to shave some material out of here, because as you can see, we need this this relief here to create enough clearance for the caliper. You see as it comes up here, otherwise with this one on here I've got a problem with the calipers hitting the mount. So I'll shave a little bit off here of the carbon, and then we should at least be able to get it on and see if it lines up. And I think either I'll be brave and decide to test the carbon mount on the Tandem, or I'll have to order an international standard mount, because I actually I don't have any left here. This is the good old fabled hammerhead box that I've had for all these years. I did have a good look through. Couldn't find any international standard ones. I've got all of the old ones.